Namaskar friends, this is NJ, host on this channel, continuing our discussion on understanding the different planetary Mahadasha. In this video, we will have our discussion on the 17-year-long Mahadasha of the planet Mercury. So friends, as you know this thing that this Mahadasha can be seen as a tool to study and comprehend the planetary influence currently on, currently activated or operational in your life. If your life can be figuratively seen as a vehicle, so the planet whose dasha you might be going through can be seen as the driver of that vehicle of your life. So basis its strength and its placement in your chart, it is going to drive the vehicle of your life accordingly and take you to the places accordingly. And friends, when we talk about the importance of the dasha, so it can be seen as a source of inspiration and motivation as well, which gives you access to the eternal truth that time is always changing. So for someone who is already going through a tough and a difficult time in their life, so this is not the end of the rope. The planet whose dasha this native is running, the moment that dasha or time period of that planet is going to come to an end, he can fairly see himself as a completely changed person. Not only him as a changed person, but even the circumstances of the life can actually change for good at the same time. And when we talk about all those people who made it big in their life, so it's not only that they had the support of the strong and well-placed planets in their chart, they also went through the dasha and the time period of the appropriate planets matching their aspirations at the right time. So friends, now coming to the dasha of the planet Mercury. So the calculation part of the dasha is very simple. You can fairly calculate it from any of the software, but the whole underlying principle is that it all gets calculated on the basis of your moon nakshatra. Like in whichsoever nakshatra your moon is going to be placed, the lord of that particular moon nakshatra of yours from whose you will start your dasha or Vimshotri dasha system. So when we talk about the Mercury dasha, now coming to our today's concept. So let's say for example, if your moon nakshatra is not ruled by Mercury, like Ashlesha, Jeshtha, Revati, so that means you might have entered the Mercury dasha after going through the dasha of the planet Saturn. So when we talk about the underlying theme of the Saturn dasha, which could be filled with restrictions, little bit of the delays, disappointments, frustration, and planet creating lot many troubles and difficulties for you just for your good to make you more strong and come out as a warrior. But when we talk about the Mercury dasha, so trust me, if you have already endured the dasha of the planet Saturn, the moment you are going to enter the dasha of Mercury, you can fairly see yourself bit relaxed and free from the clutches of Saturn, because the innate nature of Mercury is bit frivolous, bit playful. It has got lot of curiosity for knowledge, for academics. So in whichsoever area of life you are currently, like for example, for a student, Mercury is a planet of discriminatory intelligence. It can give you success over there. For someone who is a freelance person, is completely dependent or relying on his skills, so Mercury is the significator of the skills only, how much kind of refinement you have in your skills. Mercury is also a planet of all the commerce, trade, commercial, business activities. So because of which Mercury time period can be seen as a very benevolent, very blessed time period to get success in whichsoever area of life that is getting qualified in your case. And the good part with the Mercury is that Mercury is not as rigid as Saturn is. Mercury doesn't want you to go out of your home and fight for your deserving right, something which like Mars might expect out of you. And Mercury is not also as idealistic as a planet like Jupiter is, which wants you to follow the dharma and right path. Mercury is a very flexible, Mercury is a very opportunistic and very impressionable planet. So in whichsoever placement and condition it is placed in your chart, good success can be attained. And even if you want to understand the planetary friendship table, so Mercury, just because it is a planet of intelligence, it doesn't get along well with a planet which represents emotion. So it hates or it has enmity with Moon. It gets along well with planet Saturn. It gets along well with Venus, even with Sun and Rahu. And it has got neutral relationship with Ketu, Mars and Jupiter. So that is something, friends, which I wanted to tell you, basic idea about the theme of the Dasha of the planet Mercury. The good part about the Mercury Dasha is that it also gets exalted in its own sign of Virgo only. So the whole concept of expecting the results in the Dasha of a planet comes down to in which dignity planet is placed and in which house that particular planet is placed. So now what is going to happen is that wheresoever Mercury is going to be placed in your chart, you are going to get results from that particular house, and where it is going to extract, from where it is going to extract the result is going to be in which all houses Mercury rules in your chart. So let's say, for example, for someone who has got a Taurus ascendant and in his chart Mercury is placed in the second house, it's well placed in its own sign, and fairly you can see with this particular alignment that Mercury has also got the rulership of the fifth house as well, the house of your intellect, the house of speculation, risk taking abilities, all the pleasing, entertaining, sports related activities. So the moment you will enter and start the Mercury Dasha, your second house of finances where Mercury is placed is going to get activated, and it is also going to extract the fruits or the results from the fifth house at the same time. So that is something, friends, which I wanted to tell you as a basic overview idea about the theme or the Dasha of the planet Mercury. Now we will also try to understand that within the Mahadasha of the planet Mercury, in the sub period or the Antardasha of other planets, what kind of results can be expected. So it all comes down to two fundamental principles. Like first is the relationship between the Mahadasha Lord and the Antardasha Lord. So I have already told you about the planetary friendship, enmity, and like where the Mercury holds neutral relationship with which all planets. The second concept is the distance between the Mahadasha Lord and the Antardasha Lord. So for example, obviously trine and the angular distance from the Mahadasha Lord to the Antardasha Lord is seen as a beneficial. But for example, any of the trick distance, like for example, if from the Mahadasha Lord the Antardasha Lord is 6 houses away, 8 houses away, or 12 houses away, then that could be a time period of little bit difficulties or obstacles. But like the way I have already explained this thing, that Mercury is a planet of discriminatory intelligence. It is a very opportunistic and it is a very flexible planet. So even in the face of any difficulties, any obstacle, it could come up with a way of finding out the solution without offending anyone, without getting engaged in any of the fights, and might come up with some good plausible reason, explanation or solution for any particular difficult situation. So friends, the moment you're going to start the Mercury Mahadasha, the first sub period is going to be of the same planet, of Mercury only. So to begin with, this is going to be a phase when the grip of Mercury is going to be very strong in your life. The second way to study it is that just before it, you have gone through the Mahadasha of the Saturn and the last phase of it, which is going to be of the Jupiter Antardasha. So both are the planets of knowledge and wisdom. So whatsoever knowledge you have acquired at the last cycle of the Saturn, you will definitely going to make use of that within the first phase of your Mercury Dasha. So in a way, it might be a time period where you will try to expand your horizon basis Mercury's placement in your chart. So if you are a service professional, even if you are within business, you will start expanding your horizon and looking out for some new areas of opportunities or new areas of expansion. So from that perspective, this first phase of the Mercury Dasha can be seen as a very good time. After this, friends, you will enter the sub period of Ketu. So now, as you know this thing, that Mercury has got a neutral relationship with Ketu. Now Ketu's time period can be seen as a time period where Ketu is actually going to take you to the depth, to the core of your chosen craft. So if in your case you are a student or you work with your own skill, you are a freelance person, so Ketu's time period is definitely going to make you more intuitive, more inward, and is actually going to encourage you to bring that degree of perfection in your chosen craft. Even if you are in business, this is going to be a time period when Ketu is going to encourage you to look at the faults or do a proper introspection where exactly the fault lies. So that is how you can correlate this Antardasha of the Ketu. Within the Mahadasha of Mercury, in the Antardasha of Ketu, this is going to be a very ripe and heightened time to invoke and invite the blessings of Lord Ganesha by doing all the religious austerities devoted to Lord Ganesha. Your next sub-period is going to be of the planet Venus. So Mercury and Venus holds good friendship, and the good part here is that you will not find Venus to be placed far away from Mercury in the chart unless and until Venus is not 12 houses or 12 houses away from the Mercury, like a house behind it. So let's say, for example, if in your case Mercury is placed in the Libra sign and Venus is placed in the Virgo, so in that case not only Venus is 12 houses from Mercury, but also it is debilitated. So in those kind of circumstances it could create little bit hindrance, but apart from this exceptional case, in majority of the cases this is a time period where some of the good results can be achieved. Now for example, if you are single, this time period can be seen as a very good time period to settle down, find a spouse, expand your family, and for enjoying any of the materialistic results of all of your hard work. This time period can actually grant you access to all those opportunities in the life. Now whether you are working in the fields of art or creativity, you have your own business, so in any ways this time period or sub period of Venus can actually bring some good opportunities in your life. And the good part here is that Mercury, which in itself is a very pleasurable, is a very enjoyable planet, and we generally say that in whichsoever house Mercury and Venus are placed in the chart, it makes native bit enthusiastic towards the signification of that house. So the same principle applies within the Mahadasha of Mercury and in the Antardasha or sub period of Venus at the same time, that this is definitely going to be a time period where you are going to be very enthusiastic, very driven, very motivated, and you will work very passionately towards whichsoever area of life it is getting qualified in your case. Moving ahead friends, the moment you are going to enter the sub period of the planet Sun, so even in the Bhardwaj Shastra, this time period can be seen as and has been written as the time period of getting good success and recognition for all of your talents. So if in your case any of the intellectual pursuit qualifies, if you have been working hard, you have your own business, so this time period can be seen as a time period when success can come, support of the government, and due to the support of some influential people, good success can be attained. But in the case where Sun being the Antardasha Lord is not well placed in your chart, then in those kind of situation and cases, and your own activities are filled with all the underhanded activities, all the deceptive activities, because Mercury holds the potential of doing that. So in those kind of circumstances, sudden defamation, sudden fall from grace can also happen at the same time. Moving ahead friends, the next sub period is going to be of the planet Moon. Now although Mercury and Moon doesn't hold good relationship in the planetary friendship chart, but at the same time in the Bhardwaj Shastra it has been written that if these both planets are well placed in the chart, good success can be attained. So in those kind of circumstances and situation, Moon should be getting good like benefic aspect and support from other planets. So for example, if you have got a Gaj Kesari Yoga in your chart, your Moon is conjunct with Jupiter, Moon is placed in auspicious trine houses, then in those kind of circumstances good results can be attained, can be expected, specifically in any of the concerns of artistic and creative fields. If in your case any of the foreign trade, import export qualifies, so good results can be attained. But let's say for example Moon is under extreme affliction because of the aspect and conjunction with a planet like Saturn, planet like Rahu or Mars, and it is also being suppressed in a difficult house like 6th house, 8th house, 12th house, then in those kind of circumstances this time period could be filled with lot of anxiety, lot of fears, lot of psychological turmoils. So that is how you can correlate and study this sub period of the planet Moon in the Mahadasha of Mercury. Moving to the next sub period of the planet Mars. So friends, as you know this thing that Mercury doesn't see Mars as its enemy, but Mars in return sees Mercury as its enemy. So now what is going to happen is that you have to first see the dignity and strength and the placement of both of these planets. So if Mercury is going to be well placed in the chart, and Mars is also not in any of the affliction in the chart, like it is not being starved by planet Saturn or like being debilitated in the like Cancer sign, then in those kind of circumstances and situation good results can be attained, where the intelligence of Mercury is definitely going to use the thrust energy and resourcefulness and discipline of the planet Mars. But let's say, for example, if in your case your Mercury is already in a very shaky placement, it is placed in the moon sign, or Mercury is afflicted in the 6th house, in the 8th house, and over and above that you started the Antardasha of Mars, then this time period can be filled with lot of resistance which the native might have to face. So rather than making use of his opportunistic mindset, native might have to face lot of hurdles, lot of resistance which might be coming in the way of native, where native might not be able to find a immediate solution to any of his problems. And basis the placement and the rulership of the planet Mars, it can also create troubles and problems with siblings, with friends, any of the property related dispute. I've also seen people facing in the Antardasha of Mars if Mars is not well placed in the chart and natives' own actions and intentions are questionable. Moving ahead, friends, the moment you're going to start the sub-period of the Rahu. So this can be seen as a good time, because as you know this thing that even in the Brihat Hora Shastra and majority of the astrologers and psychics, they see a Mercury sign only as the exalted placement for Rahu. So because of which this is definitely going to be a time period devoted to research, devoted to thinking out of the box, expanding your horizon, coming in contacts with the foreign influence, sudden speculative gain. So from all of those perspectives, this time period can be seen as a very beneficial time, only if both the planets are well placed in the chart. Moving ahead, friends, the moment you are going to start the sub-period of the planet Jupiter. So as you know that Jupiter is the only planet to whom no other planet see as its enemy. So this time period is definitely going to be filled with a lot of new ideas and intentions of expansion, intellectual pursuit. So Mercury, which in itself represents all form of academic intellectual knowledge, but Jupiter represents true transcendental wisdom. So if in your case any of the knowledgeable pursuit and quest for knowledge qualifies, so this is definitely going to be the time period where you will get the access of right set of mentors, right set of teachers who are actually going to guide you. And this time period can also be seen as positive for any of the family related events like getting married, expanding your family, getting support and recognition from your children, or children bringing fame and glory in the family. So from all of those perspectives, this time period can be seen as very beneficial. And the last sub period within the Mahadasha of Mercury is going to be of the planet Saturn. So as you know this thing, friends, that Mercury and Saturn, they both get along well with each other. Saturn, which in itself is a significator of something big and something substantial in their life. So this time period could actually be filled with a lot of research, lot of contemplation, lot of retrospection, because the good part here is that after this time period you are going to enter the Mahadasha of the planet Ketu. So now Ketu is a time period which is actually going to force you to go inward. So whatsoever is going to happen during the time period of Ketu, or which is going to be the theme of Ketu, you are definitely going to get the trailer of that or a short insight of that within this sub period of the planet Saturn. And like the way friends, in whichsoever way it is getting qualified in your case, if you are a service professional, so some results of your hard work can be attained. And during the Saturn time period, it is also time period of getting access to all the secret and mysterious and mystic sciences which are known to humankind, because Ketu time period is definitely going to be time period of little bit mystic and psychic experience. So during this sub period of the planet Saturn, it might give you access or some of the idea about how exactly esoteric sciences happen, function. When we talk about the spirit knowledge, like getting attuned to your soul, so this is going to be a time period where Saturn is going to take your curiosity to all these areas of life at the same time. So this is something, friends, which I wanted to say as a part of the general theme of the Mahadasha of the planet Mercury. For further more updates and notifications on the divine science of astrology, please subscribe to my YouTube channel and like my Facebook page.